Morning Glory, Evening Grace, America. Former Congressman John Campbell filling in for Hugh Hewitt on the Hugh Hewitt Show. We're going to do country music this hour. So you're going to have, from last year's, you're going to have current country music bumpers this hour. I'm a big music person. I've got, record player with records and stuff like that. Anyway, I'm an audiophile, totally into music. But that's not what we're going to talk about, because we have Christine Rosen from the American Enterprise Institute on our show right now. And by the way, when I was in Congress, AEI, American Enterprise Institute, other think tanks like this, for those of you who haven't been in Congress, which I think is most of you, you have no idea how valuable these people are to us. We have staffs, and your staff does things, but they're working with constituents. These are the people who dig into the issues and dig into the details and give the information you make so you can actually make law and policy that makes sense. Christine, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. And I also enjoy country music, so we should have had the whole segment about country music next time.
Well, this is who's your favorite country artist right now?
Okay, so I love Dolly Parton. I'm sorry, because she's more than an artist. She's a force of nature. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, well, there's no question about that. No question about that. Okay, so I was reading some of your stuff before you came on here. See, show prep, that we do things. You wrote a piece called The Era of Artificial Friendship. Talk about that for a minute.
Well, I think, as a lot of your listeners probably know, there's been a lot of hoopla about chatbots and friendship bots and all this AI-driven technology that's supposed to help us have new artificial friends and, maybe help in the school setting. And so I wanted to look into those and see if it's actually realistic, this idea that humans should be friendly with bots and what it might mean. And it's a little worrisome. These are very sophisticated AI-driven chatbots that encourage us to attach emotionally to them, to make them our so-called friends. There's even a device you can buy that you can wear around your neck, and it'll track all your movements and send you text messages throughout the day, and it's called Friend. And I worry that these might replace some of our in-person, face-to-face friendships, and particularly for young people, that they might not be able to distinguish between a real friendship with another human being and these chatbots. There have been a few really tragic cases of suicides and other emotionally disruptive interrelationships between the bot and the human. And so I just kind of did an overview of where we are today with the bots.
Now, how is this? Certainly, it's been in conversation since the pandemic, certainly, that a lot of younger people were isolated, and that now this is not chatbot, but that all their friends became their friends that were on Facebook, or their friends that were on then Twitter or whatever it might be. So there's been a lot of discussion out there about younger people who believe that those are their friends and that therefore they're not making real friendships, which are the only kind I had the opportunity to make in the 50s and 60s because I'm older than dirt. But how is this related? I mean, I assume there's some kind of a connection here between what you're writing, a bot, which is different than an actual person on Facebook. But do you see a synergy here, or what?
I think a lot of our online relationships have habituated us to the idea that there's really not that much difference between the digital version of friendship that you have with acquaintances or social media followers, for example, on the one hand, and an AI-enabled bot that learns while it chats with you more about you and feeds you more of the same sort of compliments you might like, suggestions you might want to follow through on and purchase things. So in that sense, we're already halfway there to accepting a form of artificial friendship with some sort of AI-enabled bot. And again, as adults, and for those of us, I also didn't grow up with this stuff, the hybrid generations of us can look at this and go, oh, it's not that big a deal, or, oh, who would really believe that? But we need to see this from the perspective of young people who grow up living a lot of their lives on the screen, spending more than 8 hours a day staring at screens, conversing even with their human friends through a screen. They're much more willing to accept the idea that they can have a friend who's a chatbot. You also see adults who maybe are lonely in their relationships or unhappy in their work situations, finding these as a sort of therapeutic emotional outlet, but then becoming overly attached, because if you think about it, human beings get tired and cranky and pick fights, and your perfect chatbot isn't going to do that. So that seems to be a more compelling outlet for emotional exchange for lots of people.
Well, not me. I don't get. But I guess what is the answer here? I'll tell you a little story. This is from the last few days. So my wife, the captivating Mrs. Campbell, and I have 2 sons and 6 grandchildren, and my wife loves to tell the grandchildren stories, and she makes them up, about aliens or animals or whatever, and she makes them up. And her father did that with her, and she does that, and she loves it. So, Grok 3.0, I think it is, just came out on X, Elon Musk's latest AI interface. And so she went on Grok 3.0 and said, make me a poem. I forget what it was, about a whale makes a friend with a seal or something like that, for a 6-year-old. And what she got back was amazingly good. So we sent that to our sons and we said, does this make Grandma, the captivating Mrs. Campbell, is she obsolete now? Telling her stories. And of course, the answer from our sons came, no, of course not, she's not obsolete. But I mean, in a sense, that's a little what you're talking about, isn't it? Or
Well, the concern is that people will start to prefer the artificial thing to the real thing. And if you think about AI, especially in creative acts like storytelling or creating art or music, there's still a very parasite-host relationship here, right? That poem seemed really good because it fed off the creative work of human beings that came before and created that opportunity for it. And so you do hear from a lot of people in creative fields now concerned about the fact that if they are rendered obsolete, that people will, first of all, be willing to accept these sort of AI-generated, mediocre but good enough ways of doing things. Now, if you're talking about someone who's creating a technical pamphlet about something they need to hand out, I don't think most people would think that's a huge creative loss. But when you're talking about art and poetry and literature and music, these are things that I think as human beings, we need to start defending our ability to do in a unique way and protect against the encroachment of an AI that would just hoover that all up, turn it into information, and churn out something that looks like it was made by a human.
And how do we do that societally, both what you're saying about art and music and creative arts, but also about, as you were saying, younger people determining that their chatbot is their only real true friend they have on earth? What do we societally do? That's one of the things you at AEI do, is talk about societally, what do we do?
Well, one of the with children in these chatbots, I think we do need to start thinking about some warnings that are either embedded in the chatbot itself, how we deploy these. There are already some lawsuits pending actually by parents of children who've either committed suicide or had harmful effects because of their relationship with these chatbots. So we need to be cautious in the same way we would be cautious about any substance or thing that we think might be harmful to children. We need to treat these new technological tools exactly as we treat any other substance or thing that we know to be harmful.
Christine Rosen, where can people follow your work?
They can go to aei.org, and I have a page there, and most of my stuff is on it.
Very good. Thank you, Christine Rosen, very much for that fascinating. I don't know about the rest of you, I had no idea that there were chatbots that people were befriending right now. Oh well, scary.